So coming to our mats today, we need a block. So keeping the block close by, and we will work in our practice with non-stealing in a moment. As I get you settled into your first posture, I will also explain what that might mean. So if it is possible for you, and please do mind your knees. So if your knees aren't feeling the greatest, feel free to attempt a different position. But if it's okay, just for now, to sit towards the heels, and then placing your hands down onto the mat in front of you, and just for a moment, potentially even closing your eyes. Allowing yourself to arrive on the mat, to feel the mat underneath, the way you positioned yourself. That also might reveal a little bit more about how your physical body is feeling this morning, or whenever you're doing the practice. And if it feels right for you, lean in a little bit further. You could rest your forearms upon your thighs, if that is good. Or even towards the floor. Now, I often find it challenging first thing in the practice to bring the head all the way to the ground. If you experience similar sensations, you could bring a block in front of you, rest your forehead onto the block, and let the hands just rest by your side. If you find it's perfectly okay to go into full child's pose, you could also let your head come down to the floor. You might even, in that case, rest your arms along the sides of your body. No pressure, simply a child's pose. And once you've attempted your child's pose, there could still be one or the other movement within the shape to get you settled. Awareness that this posture isn't that easy when we begin our practice. But as we took it quite carefully, you might have found a place in which you feel comfort. As you rest in this shape, you might for a moment acknowledge that by birth, we are all whole and complete. Everything is perfect. And then from there on, things start to change. As we get influenced from the outside, and as we learn about this life, or what people think it might be. So in Sanskrit, Asteya. Steya meaning stealing, and the A or the A in front of it, meaning the opposite, non-stealing. It's one of the yamas, and with that a guideline for our daily living. But what better idea is there than to practice that first on the mat, and then maybe take it off the mat into your daily lives. So as you're resting here, you're obviously taken time for yourself to tune in and to allow yourself to discover what is truly going on for yourself. Maybe that, but also moving your body. On the other hand, we tend to lack certain things, or we believe that we're lacking them. And when we think about non-stealing, we oftentimes think straight away of material goods. That's not all that we can steal. We can steal each other's thoughts. We can even take away emotions. We can also steal time. And we're not only stealing these things from others, but sometimes even stealing them from ourselves. So just noticing your response in this moment to the idea what non-stealing might mean in a yogic sense. as you might raise your head away from your support. Starting to extend your arms forward and lifting up onto your fingertips. Just experience the length in the spine as you potentially draw your buttocks towards the heels and feel the crown of the head reaching forward. Breathe in. And as you're breathing out, begin to round your spine up as you're sliding your hands upon your thighs, coming into a seated position. Now, this is a good opportunity to utilize the block. So I will pop the block between my feet. For me, it's okay to have it flat, but you could also place the block halfway up or have a stack of blocks underneath. If it feels rather difficult to keep the knees in that deep bend to begin with, change your seated position. It's not that important. Then turn the palms of your hands to face upwards and rest them upon your thighs. Find a good length in your spine and move a little bit through your shoulders, a little rolling through the neck, a bit of turning of the head. As you settle yourself into a seated form. When you do come to a more steady seated position, take a breath in and turn your head just to one side. You might even have your eyes open, looking to the side. As you exhale, bring your head to center. On the inhale, then turning the head to the other side. On the exhale, bring it back into center. You may close your eyes or steady your gaze now. Feel into your hands. When we feel a tendency to take away or steal, it is often because we believe that we don't have enough. The hands facing upwards as a symbol of being ready to receive, but also to give without any conditions. The more we give from that place, the more we receive, the more abundant we feel, and the less need to take away from others. Start to deepen your breath now, feeling the breath expanding all around your waist, all around your lower ribs, and then up to collarbones and upper back, expanding into front and back, and then breathing out as the waistline belly comes back in, ribs settle in, and then the upper chest releases. So it's a simple full yogi or 3-part breath. So we breathe from our belly to the ribs, up to the collarbones. Finding your breath there. And as you are breathing now, acknowledging the flow of breath, that it is very likely that you're enriching yourself without taking away or stealing any energy. And after you've completed your next exhalation, breathe in and raise your arms up in front with the backs of the hands touching. And when you're breathing out, let your shoulders soften. As you inhale, lifting your right arm, extending right upwards with spine. And as you breathe out, circle your arm back into a twist. Both arms will be extended. As you turn towards that side, start to imagine you're able to bring in light and reaffirm yourself. Life is always on my side. Then turn the back palm upwards. Breathe in to lift your arm. And the breath out to touch the backs of the hands together again. Repeat that on the other side. I'd ask you to lift your left arm as you breathe in and feel the length coming through the whole side of the body. And then on the breath out, going into your twist and holding the twist to the other side. You might close your eyes here. Take in the light. And know life is on my side. Turning the backhand to face upwards as you inhale, raise the arm to the ceiling. And as you exhale, bring the backs of the hands together and then turn the backs of the hands upon your thighs with your palms facing upwards. Allow yourself a moment to reflect, but keep your full deep yogi breaths flowing. As we bring in more light and energy, we're feeling more nourished, more whole, less a tendency to take away, potentially from our own practice. As we let the hands now land back onto the mat in front of us, let them slide a little bit forward, and then lift your hips away from the block. Placing the block down by the side of the mat as we come onto an all-fours stance. Let your right leg extend back onto the mat. You can hold here, just a three-legged plank. If you feel it's okay to lift the other knee, come into a full plank. Then bring the right knee back down, the left knee to the mat, and let your bottom sink back towards the heels. Extended child's pose. On a breath in, rising again onto all fours. Now to extend your left leg back onto the mat. And again, you're standing firmly on the three limbs, plenty for you, or lifting the right knee away from the mat as well. Completing Kumbhakasana, plank position. Left knee lands again, right knee lands again, and we're sitting again back towards our heels. On the in-breaths, come back up onto all fours. As we find our stance here, the knees about hip distance apart. We'll take a breath in to lift the left leg back. This time off the mat, foot in a flexion. But you could also choose to reach the right arm forward at the same time and finding balance or aiming for balance. As you inhale. On the exhale, draw elbow, knee, nose together underneath. So if you just lifted the leg, then only the leg. As you inhale, extend your body again, reach forward with your arm back with the foot. And a breath out as you curl that back under again. Repeat for one more. As you breathe in, bring the length in. As you breathe out, curl it in. Then take another breath to extend your body. Feel free to just hold here. Or bend your back knee. Turn the right thumb down and swing your arm back by your side. Maybe to take a hold of the foot. If you do, bring the foot into your hand. Open the front body into a first back bend. Then release your hand down, your knee down, and stretch the hips back to the heels. On the inhale, come up onto all fours again. As we find our stance once more, it's the right leg now, we're extending back. Please always flex the foot as you're extending your leg backwards, so the toes are pointing towards the floor. Option to reach the left arm forward. As you might find balance here and stay to hold. Or breath out as you draw elbow, knee, nose together underneath. On the inhale, extend the arm forward, the heel backwards. Breath out as you're curling back in. Extend once more on the breath in. And curl back under on the breath out. And the same then as you inhale, extend again. And feel free to hold here. Or bend the back knee. Turn the left thumb down. Swing your arm by your side. Maybe catching the foot. And if it feels right, bring the foot into the hand. Expand into a light back bend. Then release the hand down, the knee down, and retreat into a softly extended child's pose. On the next inhale, rolling back up onto all fours. And stepping your knees a little bit back or the hands a bit forward. Draw the tailbone lightly towards the heels. And then exhale as you leave your elbows close and lower down onto the front of the body, resting the forehead down onto the mat. Keeping the tops of the feet on the floor, we're waving into cobras. So while you breathe in, lift the head, the chest. Exhale, release. Inhale, wave up, cobra. Exhale, release. Try a couple more if that feels right. Alternatively, you may rest or hold. When we complete it, we're resting back down onto the floor. And on the inhale, returning onto all fours. Reaching back to the heels as a counter pose when exhaling. Returning onto all fours from here. Have your fingers spread out into the mat again, your solid all four stance. We will now bring the right leg back. And then also the right arm forward. There's one thing that is quite for sure. We can't steal balance because it's not anything that we can hold on to in general. So if you feel okay here, playful, bend your right knee, reach back with the right hand, maybe take a hold of the foot. As you bring the foot into the hand, open the body sideways, like a kneeling side plank. As you're next inhaling, extending your arm and the leg, and bring the hand back down and draw your knee up and forward towards your right shoulder, aiming or helping your foot to the outside of this hand. Now, once the foot is forward, swing the other leg behind you, and then let your upper body relax. On an out breath, begin to round your spine up. On an inhale, raise your arms. On the exhale, interlace your hands behind your back. As you draw the arms down the back or even away from it, start to lift from your heart, lifting your gaze. Again, bring in light, maybe straight into heart center. Inhale. And a kneeling, humble warrior, as you lean forward and down, leaning towards the inside of the knee. The head can relax if that's right for you. And arms may rest or lift away from the back. Allow yourself to bow down, to be humble, so you can access and observe yourself to create the change that you might desire. Let your hands come back down onto the mat. Place your right forearm on top of the thigh and take a breath in as you lift your left arm. And then wrap that left arm gently behind your back for a half bind. It's okay to keep the forearm resting on top of the thigh. It might be just that little bit extra openness through the chest. But you could also extend your arm and point your fingers down, or even touch the floor if you had that range of movement. Noticing where you are at. The moment you're going beyond your physical sensations right now, the more likely it is that you're taking away your own energy that you might need elsewhere. We'll let our shoulder roll in and place the hands briefly back down onto the mat, realigning the back leg with the mat. Touching the backs of the hands together, raise your arms up in front as you breathe in. Let your shoulders settle as you're breathing out. On the in-breath now, lift the right arm and lengthen your back. On the exhale, come back to the twist from which we started. Keeping your arms open, your eyes may be closed, as you invite back the light into your heart and the reassurance that life is always on my side. Turning the back hand to face upwards, breathe in to lift the arm again. And as you breathe out, landing your hands onto the mat, stepping the foot back as a return onto all fours. And you can always make little adjustments here to find your solid stance. On the next breath, raising the left leg up and back. Maybe bringing the left arm forward. Choice to bend the left knee and swing the arm back to take a hold of the foot. Keep opening the body sideways as you bring the foot into the hand. Maybe a balance here. On the next in-breath, extend the leg back while reaching the arm forward. Then landing the hand down. And on a breath out, squeeze the knee up to the left shoulder before you land or help your foot to the outside of the hand. Taking the back leg a little bit behind and across. And let the upper body just hang down. Breathing out to round up to stand. A breath in to lift the arms. And when you breathe out, circle the arms behind the back and maybe find an interlace that feels awkward. So the other fingers on top. As you lengthen your arms down away from your back, mainly lift your heart center. Gaze can be lifted. And you're thinking back about the light that comes to your heart. On the next out breath, approach a kneeling humble warrior. As you lean your torso towards the inside of the knee, the head may hang down and your arms may be lifted away from the back if that feels good. Humble yourself again. As human existence, we have so many ideas in our minds, and this time here on the mat is there to observe them, to detach, to be the observer, to create change. As we relax our hands down onto the floor, let the left forearm come to the thigh. Take a breath in and lift your right arm. Maybe circle that arm for a half bind behind your back. While you're keeping your shoulder open, you may rest the forearm here to assist you. Or you could extend your arm and the fingers are pointing down or even touching the mat, wherever you're at right now. And then release that as you roll your shoulder in. Place the hands again to the mat, but now realigning the back leg with the mat. Touching backs of the hands together, raise your arms out in front, inhale. Exhale, let your shoulders settle. On the next inhale, the left arm reaches up as we're extending our spine and arm. And then circle your arm back and hold in a twist. Each time we're twisting in this way, bring the light in. And reassure yourself, life is always on my side. To turn the back hand to face upwards, breathe in, lift the arm again. And exhale, let your hands land onto the mat. Stepping the knee back as we retreat onto all fours. Now, if this sequence was perfect for you, you can remain on all fours. If you want that little bit extra, tuck the toes under, lift your knees and come into downward facing dog. And I suggest to move the down dog or even an all-four stance if that is your preference. So moving it a little bit to according how you're feeling within your body, not so much your mind. Very good. Now with your next breath in, lift your right leg up. On the exhale, bring the knee to your nose. On the inhale, extend the leg. Exhale, draw knee to opposite elbow, extend the leg underneath and across. Then breathe in, extend the leg back up. And with a bent knee, move the knee towards the shoulder. And then land or help your foot again to the outside edge of the hand. We're now grounding the back heel to the mat. If the kneeling variation of this sequence was better for you, come back to that. Otherwise, just let your upper body relax downwards. And as you're exhaling, rounding up to stand, you may momentarily straighten the legs while you breathe in to raise your arms. And then bend the front knee again as you swing your arms behind to interlace your hands. As you come to stand here, take a look downwards, the front foot. Let the arch be active so your knee stays in line with your toes. Then you may draw your arms down away from your back. Lift your heart to invite the light as you inhale. And then lean down towards the inside of the front knee while you exhale to complete your humble warrior. Let the head be heavy if that suits your blood pressure, and maybe raise the arms away from your back. And while you're holding here, try not to steal away the energy within this shape. So there's a likelihood that you're taking a lot of weight to your front leg, which in turn takes away the groundedness through the back leg. So bring some weight back into the outer edge of your back foot, assisting yourself finding some inner balancing strength. Then let your hands release to the mat. Right forearm to your thigh. Breath in to lift the left arm. And then wrapping that arm again behind the back for a half bind. Well, you might be leaning against your thigh and that being a good support. You could also extend your arm to face downwards. And some of you might even reach down and under the leg for a full bind. I won't be demonstrating that today, but feel free to go there. Notice that if your breath isn't flowing, you've taken away energy or stolen energy from the actual shape to go somewhere that you might not need to be today. Let go of any binds as you roll your left shoulder in. Bring your hands down to the mat and raise your back heel. As you breathe in now, collapse the lunge by bending knees and rounding back. And then exhale as you're rolling up to a standing lunge. On the inhale, bring the arms back out and front backs of the hands are touching. Exhale, your shoulders are relaxing. On the inhale, the right arm extends, the spine lengthens. On the out breath, circle your arm back, come into the same twist again. There's a likelihood that the hips are adjusting themselves here, but assist a little bit by drawing feet in towards each other. As you know, life is on my side. The light comes in through an open heart. Turn the back palm to face up and inhale to lift. And exhale to release the hands down and to step back for a downward dog. As you breathe in now, roll the spine forward, come into a plank or a kneeling plank. And on the out breath, lower all the way down onto the mat, resting the forehead down, letting your arms rest by your sides. You could then reach the arms behind the back, interlacing the hands here. On a breath in, raise the legs, the head, the chest, maybe the arms, and hold for a few breaths. It kind of feels a little bit when we're back bending as if we're taking away some of our breath, as if we are taking away some of our energy. That is only a snapshot in time, because in the end, when we release, we gain a lot of energy from these back bends. So with your next out breath, relax the posture, bring your favorite ear to the mat, and take a rest. While the physical body is resting, your mind is observing. Each time the mind is wandering, you are unconsciously, though, stealing away this time from the mat for yourself. So when you notice the mind is going away, bring it back. Centering the head, placing hands back down by the ribs. A breath in to come onto the hands and the knees. And a breath out to release into extended child's pose. On the inhale, come back up to all fours. Now tuck toes under if you choose and lift the knees for another downward facing dog. As you come into the shape, breathe in, lifting the left leg up. Breath out, your knee to your chest. Inhale, extend the leg. Exhale, knee comes to opposite elbow, extends underneath. Inhale, extend the leg. And then bend the knee and draw it towards the shoulder, only to aim with your foot to the outside of the hand. Lower your back heel to the mat and momentarily let your body relax. When you breathe out, start rolling up. And you may straighten the legs here in the process as you raise your arms, inhaling. And when you circle the arms behind, change the interlace and bend your front knee again. Before you go anywhere, take a look down. The arch of the front foot is very much active. The knee aligns with the toes. And then we lift our heart towards the light. The arms might be away from the back as you inhale. And with the out breath, then leaning towards the inside of this knee. Letting your upper body surrender. Maybe your arms are lifted. And then notice here. Where could you find more inner balance? Shifting some weight back to the rear foot. Maybe the head needs to be lifted for you because there's energy pulsing in the head. Once you found your inner balance, release the hands, sliding left forearm to thigh. And now a breath in to reach the right arm up. You could wrap that arm again behind your back for a half bind. This is already perfect as is, but there are options of extending the left hand or arm downwards, or even reaching underneath for a deeper bind. Take your choice, but know now that wherever you're spending energy, if it's not yours, you will feel that, and it's reflected in a shorter breath or a difficulty in breathing. So don't steal that energy, manage it. Now when we release the bind, we're rolling the shoulder in, bringing the hands down to the mat and lifting the back heel. As you then inhale, collapse this lunge. And now breathe out and roll it to a standing position. Lifting the arms out in front, backs of the hands touching. And breathe out to settle into this lunge. Now on the inhale, lift the left arm and lengthen. On the exhale, circle the arm back and finding your twist. While your hips might have adjusted themselves, pull the feet in gently towards each other. More support. To concentrate on the lights and to reaffirm yourself again. Life is on my side. As you turn the left hand to face upwards, breath in to raise the arm. And as you exhale, bringing your hands back down to the mat. Step the foot back, down dog. Breath in, roll spine forwards, come to plank or kneeling plank. And exhale as you lower onto the mat. Resting the chin or the forehead down, and let your arms come long again by your sides. You can choose to interlace the hands in the odd way behind your back if you enjoyed the last round. If you want a deeper back bend or extension of front body, and the lower back is allowing you, bend your knees, reach for the outer edges of the feet or your ankles. No obligation. You can at any time lengthen your legs out. And while you breathe in, bringing feet into hands, lifting the body or raising the legs, the torso. We're holding the chosen back bend. But if the full bow, when you're holding onto your feet, is getting too strong over the hold, just let the feet go and lengthen the legs away from the mat. Taking a couple more breaths in this position. And then when you release the position, turn the other ear to the mat and return to a rest. I find this is very intriguing. When we come from a longer hold or a deeper back bend, the beating of the heart is so dominant and such a lovely way to pull you into this moment. As you center your head again, place the hands back down by your sides. Take a breath in as you lift up onto all fours. And you may sit briefly back towards the heels for an extended child's pose, neutralizing of your spine. And then either come onto all fours or go back into a downward facing dog, your choice. We'll walk the feet now all the way to the front end of the mat and end there in a standing forward bend. When you're reached, breathe in and extend the spine forward, half lift. Then breathe out and fold again. Allow yourself a long out breath to round the body up towards standing. Give the shoulders a few shrugs, some movements. And start to really firmly stand on the 2 feet. Whether that is now directly on your mat or on the floor is up to you. We will be shifting our weight towards the left foot. Bringing the right knee up and giving it a squeeze to the chest. Now, just a reminder, balance never stays with us. There's no need to want the balance someone else has. As you reach with your hand to your ankle to bring your foot towards your bottom, the knees closer, the hips forward, and maybe the left arm is lifting. As you breathe in, expand your chest. Bring the foot back, the knee lifting behind. Natarashasana, the dancer. This is a balancing back bend. As you come back carefully to stand, release the arm, bring the foot down. Let the palms be open towards the front so you can receive, but also share and give. Leaning the weight toward the right foot as you hug the left knee to the chest. Give it a squeeze first. Then slide your hand to your ankle and bring your foot to the buttocks as you lower the knee. The hip moves a little bit forward. There's an option to raise the right arm. And then start to expand. As you breathe in, the chest moves forward, the knee moves behind, the foot might move into the hand. Hold, if possible. Take this balance in if it's there, and enjoy the process if it isn't. On the inhale, return to stand. Release, turning palms forward. For a moment, close the eyes. Acknowledging your ability to receive and your readiness to give without conditions. Raise the arms this time on the inhale. And bend the knees, and with a sigh, folding forward. On a breath in, lengthen the spine forward, your half lift. And as you breathe out, come to sit on your mat. Now, please don't forget your block. Have that close by. As you extend your legs out to the front, we won't need it straight away, unless you prefer to sit on it. Now, I will use the rolled up end of my mat to sit on instead. So while I'll shove that underneath my hips, the legs are out long at the front, and we'll bring a bend into the right knee. Now, ideally in the head to knee posture, the foot is up to the inner thigh, but you know, textbooks are there for good reasons, and that are how to modify the postures. So if the foot up here causes you trouble in the knee, have the foot anywhere against your leg. Now bring your fingertips to the mat, lift the left side of the buttocks, draw the straight leg into the hip socket, then bend its knee and flex the foot. While you find length facing the leg, breathe out and lean your belly over your thigh. You may then carefully lower the head towards the knee as the name of the posture suggests. And today we'll bring the arms either side of the leg and we'll turn the palms upwards to symbolize again our readiness to give and to receive. And then we allow ourselves to enter this shape and breathe in it. There's subtle movements that you could have while you're in this shape, and they're perfectly fine. So stillness could happen, but you might create tiny little movements that help you deepen the shape. Notice in regard to the theme of the class, whether there's a pull in your back and you're stealing some good back health from yourself. If that is the case, bend the knee a little bit more, release that stress. If, however, you're not feeling much of an extension and your body feels good, you can extend the leg a little bit more. And then allow yourself just to breathe. Main focus in the breath is your out breath. The mind wanders, bring it to the palms of the hands and what they symbolize. Now let's turn the palms down to touch the mat. And while you breathe in, use the hands to lengthen the spine. And as you breathe out, lifting yourself to a seat. Take your right knee and bring it up so you can leave your foot resting on the floor on the inside of the leg, but you may also step it to the outside of the leg. So noticing your choice as you take a hold of the knee to lengthen again through the spine. Let your right hand fingertips come to rest behind your back. Now you could leave the left hand here, wrap your elbow around, or take a breath to reach your arm up and lengthen again to then place the elbow to the outside of the knee for your twist. In any case, you're holding on to the knee somehow and you're twisting. Keeping an active flexion in the left foot to anchor, ground yourself. As you notice that twists, potentials. When you next inhale, turn the head forward. On the exhale, unravel your whole posture. You could move your legs and feet a little if you like. And we'll then bring a bend into the left knee. Choose and use if you hadn't done the other side. If the foot reaches upper inner thigh, fine. If not, rest it somewhere else. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Lift the right side of the buttocks. Draw the straight leg in so we're facing the leg. Then bend it. Flex the foot. And while you inhale, your spine is long, you're sitting upright. And on the exhale, we're leaning from the hips, the belly to the thighs. The head might lower towards the knee while your arms are coming down either side of the leg, the palms again facing upwards. And you surrender yourself to the shape. Do the same here. The mind wanders. Bring it to the shape where you're taking away from the experience, where you're stealing parts from yourself. And what can you do to find that inner balance? Where you're giving to yourself, so you shall receive the benefits. Few more breaths. Mind focus again along out breath. And touching the palms of the hands down to the mat. As you inhale, use them to lift up halfway and breathe out to rise to sit. While the right leg's extending completely, bring your left knee up. You can land the foot inside of the straight leg or step it to the outside. Draw yourself up tall as you hold onto your knee. And slide your left hand fingertips down behind. Now you're almost there. Hand can stay here, elbow can wrap around, or you could take a breath and reach the right arm up for more length And even place your elbow to the outside of the knee as you come into a twist. No matter how deep you engage in the twist, just stay there in your mind's eye, looking to the sides. The life is supporting you. The light comes in. With your next breath in, turn your head forward. And with the out breath, release the shape. Now I will wiggle myself off my rolled up mat and remove my sitting support. I will still make sure that the block is down by the side. I will also make sure, or you shall, that you've got all your clothing that keeps you warm for relaxation nearby. You can put the socks straight on, even the jumper, if you're not too hot. And then when you're ready, joining me in a lying down position. I've got my block here in reach. I've got my feet stepped down to the mat. I encourage you to do the same. As you lift your hips up, squeezing your buttocks, like as if you were to come into a bridge. You can slide the block underneath your sacrum flat or halfway up if you would like to go a little bit further. I suggest to keep a hold of the block if you placed it halfway up. We'll then carefully bring our knees to the chest before extending the legs upwards for a supported shoulder stand. Now, if any of you have a full shoulder stand in your practice and your neck and shoulders are actually feeling good today, you could attempt a full shoulder stand. Well, I won't be demonstrating that for obvious reasons, as my shoulder isn't the greatest, and with that, the neck is neither. I prefer to support myself. And sometimes it's just that little bit of support, although we would be able to go deeper, that brings us further nourishment in the practice. So make your own choices and come into a steady posture. The upper body is grounding you now. And when you feel into your feet and into your legs, they could be relaxed right now. If that is enjoyable for you, keep it this way. If you would like to point actively up your toes, you could do so, straightening the legs. You could then choose to actively flex the feet as you draw your toes down towards you. And you could from there push the balls of the foot up. Or in other words, flaunting the foot. So your toes are funnily spreading out into the air, legs active all around. My suggestion from here is to soften the legs and the feet again. Maybe take a gentle wiggle of the toes. And then coming back into the stillness. If you've placed your block halfway up like mine, or if you feel a bit insecure on the block, take a hold of it. Bending your knees carefully to your chest. And then stepping down one foot at a time. If any of you are in a shoulder stand, you might grab your block now, unless you would like to practice the bridge unsupported, which is fine too. So with your feet down, however high your block is, you've landed in a bridge. And as that is supported as well, let your arms relax again. If any of you feel a necessity to extend the legs, that's the last option. One more breath. Your legs out long, step your feet back down. We'll all plant the feet down about hip distance. Start to squeeze the buttocks to raise the hips away from the block and then remove the block out from underneath and rolling the spine down a single vertebra at a time as you take your time to release to the mat. Your arms might be gently open, and if you're feeling a little bit unsettled, you could let your knees very gently sway from side to side. If that makes you feel good, you could bring in a rolling of the head as well. And then finding yourself back in the center, hopefully warm. If you want any support, support yourself in this resting position or shavasana. As you might extend the legs out long. You could have a bolster underneath the knees, a blanket under the head or over your body. Whatever it needs for you, maybe an eye pillow. And then come into the stillness that is shavasana. Shavasana is the ultimate posture of stealing away from yourself. As it's the nature of our mind as we become still to wander, that's the moment your mind is interrupting your practice and maybe taking away from you. So be the observer again as you notice these tendencies of the mind. Here it's not because it's lacking something, although it might lack the ability of enduring the stillness. But in general, it is more that we are taking away our awareness, and with that, a valuable opportunity in our practice. Your anchoring point or returning point might be the breath. If you feel you have all you need, you won't need to take it from someone else or yourself. Because the urge to steal arises from a sense of unhappiness, incompleteness, and envy. The solution might be to practice giving any chance you get. Give food, give money, give time. Since wealth is ultimately a state of mind, you will feel increasingly wealthy through selfless giving. And ultimately, your inner sense of wealth may bring the outer wealth. As you rest here, find the inner stillness, but you might also have found where you are stealing. Don't blame yourself. Feel enriched that you have come to that awareness. There's no way back to that point where we were whole as we were born. There are multiple ways of returning to a sense of being whole and complete just now in this moment. Allowing the breath to deepen again as you return your awareness to your mat, the body. And as you encourage a deeper flow of breath, you might bring in some slight movements or even stretches. I'd ask you then to join me in a seated position. So you might roll to your side or even sit up over the front of your body. Resting the backs of the hands upon your thighs with the palms facing upwards, straight spine, the shoulders relaxed. Keeping in mind the balance between giving and receiving. Before you join the palms of your hands together in front of your chest, completing our practice with one chant of Om for union, followed by 3 shantis for peace. Let's breathe in for that Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Intense, whole and complete. Bowing, extending towards each other. Namaste.